Aghasura demon. We'll offer our pranam mantras to Srila Prabhupada together. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The most exciting part comes at the end. So everything else was very sweet and very wonderful. Now it gets really exciting. By the divine arrangement of Krishna's Leela Shakti. Just a little summary. During the Memorial Day weekend, every year for 37 years, I and others together have been conducting a retreat in Gita Nagari, and different themes. And this year was Krishna in Vrindavan. And the theme was selected because the second speaker had written books on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Brilliant devotee. His name is Garuda. He has written 3 books on primarily the topic is the Rasa Leela. But he writes about it and explained it to people, so it wasn't like over their head. It was very well done. And one of the topics that I spoke about was this last section of Aghasura demon. And the theme of it was, which is, it fits in with what's going to be this last section. What's the relationship between Leela Shakti and Krishna's Yogamaya potency? No, it's pretty simple, but it took a while to sort it out, and Garuda helped me because he's a Sanskrit PhD scholar from Harvard University. He's a very educated man. So the Leela Shakti is the potency derived from Krishna's Yogamaya potency, and both of them together, they facilitate Krishna's pastimes. Yogamaya facilitates Krishna's pastimes. So, at the very, very beginning, some of you were with us from the very beginning, all of this pastime so far, and then the next chapter 13 and the chapter 14, all takes place in one day. Well, mostly takes place in one day. And at the very beginning of the day, Krishna had a plan. Krishna had a plan to perform the pastime, and then the next pastime, and the next pastime, by asking Mother Yasoda to not have breakfast at home, but have lunch to take with him. And she agreed, and she prepared. The second was, he didn't want Balaram to be there. I mean, he's like Balaram, but it would have messed up the Leela, because in today's class, the cowherd boys are going to enter into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. And if Balaram was there, it wouldn't have happened, because he's going to protect the cowherd boys. But Leela Shakti made the arrangement so that they entered into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. Leela Shakti. You could say she's the culprit. But she's facilitating Krishna's pastimes, and Krishna's pastimes are but a display of Krishna's desire. And Krishna's desire is to enjoy loving exchanges with his devotees. And these cowherd boys, we'll hear in this section, they're eternal, as Krishna is eternal, as the jiva is eternal. In the spiritual world, these cowherd boys are Krishna's eternal associates. Their bodies are Satchit Ananda, as Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda. They're eternal associates, so they can't be separated from him. But they get separated from him by the arrangement of Leela Shakti, because they enter into the mouth of the Aghasura demon, and Krishna doesn't want it. Because he knows. They had this little discussion, that was part 3. This is part 4. Part 3, the cowherd boys, they're playing and doing what little boys do together. They're just playful, super playful, without all the details. And as they're moving along, they see in the middle of a path that they travel regularly going through the forest, there's this gigantic creature, python, 8 miles long, with his upper jaw touching the clouds. The guy's big, 8 miles long. And some of them think, oh, it's a playground. Someone very kindly built a playground for us, right here in the forest. How nice. Let's go and play. So, little boys, let's go and play. And then some of the other little boys said, wait a minute. It looks like a python that wants to eat us. And then many things happened. And they finally said, well, even if it is a python that wants to kill us, Krishna will take care of him. And off they went into the mouth of the Aghasura demon. So that's where we ended. And then the pastime is, what's Krishna going to do now? He is the supreme controller. He can, whatever he wants to do, he can do. He didn't even have to make an effort. He just has a ichcha, a desire. And stuff happens because his energies move according to his desire. He doesn't have to do anything. But there's a dilemma because the cowherd boys entered the mouth of Aghasura demon. So there's a teaching. We touched on this yesterday evening, but because Krishna subordinates himself to his devotees, what the devotees wanted prevailed. Because Krishna subordinated his desire to the desire of his devotees. And his devotees, the cowherd boys, they were just in this playful mood, and whatever's going to happen, it's okay, because they could see Krishna in sight, and Krishna will take care of everything. Even if it is a demon he wants to kill us, no problem. Let's go. So off they went. And then Krishna has a dilemma. So that was one teaching, sneak preview of this class. Krishna subordinates. So it's like Mother Yasoda wanting to bind Krishna. Why Mother Yasoda couldn't bind Krishna? Because she didn't want to be bound. That's simple. So, do the math. She got rope that was hundreds of feet long, one rope tied to another rope, tied to another rope, tied to another rope. And it wouldn't go around Krishna's waist. And she's like, what's going on? His waist is the size of my fist, and the rope is hundreds of feet long, and it doesn't go around his waist. And not only that, it's always the same 2 inches too short. And it didn't happen because Krishna didn't want to be bound. But when then Krishna saw the perspiration of Mother Yasoda and her whole body was trembling, and he withdrew his Ichcha Shakti or Satya Sankalpa Shakti and exhibited his Kripa Shakti. so she could bind him. Just like that. Just like that. His desire does everything. And there was another pastime, the same day. The pastime was knocking over the twin Arjun trees, so now the Kuvera Mani Griva could be liberated. It's like his pastime would just flow one thing to the next thing after the next thing. And it's a lovely exchange between Krishna and his devotees. And sometimes it's compassion, and sometimes it's very straightforward, at least for 30 seconds, and then it changes. And it's likened to a river that's always flowing. So a river that's always flowing, sometimes very calm. Sometimes the waves go up. Sometimes the waves go down. Sometimes the waves go this way. Sometimes the waves go that way. The river keeps flowing. And Krishna's pastimes keep flowing. And to taste the happiness of Krishna and the rasa that Krishna is experiencing and that his devotees are experiencing, that's why we're gathered together. That's why Krishna performs his pastimes, and for our benefit and for the eternal associates' benefit. We can say he's having fun, but he's stimulating their love in various ways. He's a traffic conductor. Are you going to sit down and hear the class, or are you going to run around and direct traffic? Which one? You can sit down? Yes. I think people can find a place to sit when they come in the front door. Yeah. I'd like to see your smiling face in here. Okay. I know you're the host. You're a good host. But be a good listener too. Okay. So here's a very nice prayer. Hopefully it's going to go forward. By Sanatana Goswami. I think we showed this yesterday. There's two prayers. There's Sanatana Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis. He wrote many books, and this is from one of his many books. It's stava, or prayers to Krishna about Krishna Lila. So he writes, "Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam," he's a lover of Srimad Bhagavatam, and you'll all become lovers of Srimad Bhagavatam, just stick around. "Oh, giver of saintliness to the unsaintly. Oh, uplifter of the very fallen. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifested upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna." Here's a little story about Sanatana Goswami's biography. It fits. He was born in an elevated Brahmana family, highly elevated. There are different gradations of Brahmanas, and his family was a very elevated Brahmana family. And when he was 16 years old, how old are you? 17? 15? Okay, maybe it'll happen to you, who knows. When he was 16 years old, he had a dream. And in his dream, a Brahmana came to him and gave him a gift. The gift the Brahmana gave him was a hand-copied, because there weren't printing presses at the time, a hand-copied Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he woke up, he was like joyful. What a wonderful dream. And that next morning, the very same Brahmana came to his home, knock, 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 and gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam that happened in his dream. And so from the time he was 16, he understood this was sent by Krishna. And so he immersed himself in Srimad Bhagavatam, starting from his teenage life. Not that he didn't have any interest in before, but now he has a message from Krishna. Immerse yourself in Srimad Bhagavatam, and so he did. And he has love. And the object of love is Krishna. But the object of love for Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. As it says, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Please become manifest upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Because that's what the Bhagavatam delivers. So that's text 417, 2 verses earlier. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, my only friend. Oh, my companion. Oh, my teacher. Oh, my great wealth. Oh, my deliverer. Oh, my good fortune. Oh, my bliss. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Now, we all have friends. He considers the Bhagavatam to be his only friend. Now, only friend doesn't mean he doesn't have other friends, but Krishna is at the center, the Srimad Bhagavatam is at the center, and all of his friends are huddled around Srimad Bhagavatam just like him. Just like all the cowherd boys are huddled around Krishna, and he is at the center. It's just like that. It's just like that. It's rasa. Within the Bhagavatam is rasa. And that's the attractiveness, because it's very, very tasty, very attractive to the mind and to the heart. So here's a painting that shows the essence of the beginning part. You see Krishna holding up his hand. He's motioning to the cowherd boys, don't go in. But he doesn't say anything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is situated as Antaryami, the Super Soul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python, like playground. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghasura, a demon, who had appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. But they're motioning to him and smiling and laughing, and off they go into the demon's mouth. Jiva Goswami has a very wonderful way of explaining all this. Knowing it was not only a python, but a Rakshasa named Agha, since he, Krishna, was in everyone's heart as Paramatma, the inspiration for all things, and was endowed with all powers, he wanted to prevent them. And he's all-powerful, he wants to prevent them, so why didn't he prevent them? Why did they do the opposite of what he wanted? Because he's all-powerful. And Jiva Goswami goes on to describe from Priti Sandarbha. Now, a little background. Some of you are not familiar. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami wrote 5 different commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was a lover of Bhagavatam also. They were all lovers of the Bhagavatam. And one of them was the Sandarbhas. And Sandarbhas is a classification of a certain type of literature that has some rules. He knew the rules, and he followed the rules. And there's 6 parts to the Sandarbhas. It's the Sad, 6 Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. And one of them is Priti, the feelings of love that one received from reading Srimad Bhagavatam, or that Krishna received from performing his activities. So here's his explanation. Compares what Krishna did to what Ramachandra did. When Ramachandra entered the forest and, Lakshmana was also absent. The worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha. Just as a tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. He goes on. Then Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Did he not know where Sita was? Is it possible for him to not know? And if he knew, then to take her and bring her back. There's no restriction because he's unlimitedly powerful and unlimitedly knowing, but he's acting as if a worldly person where he doesn't know and is experiencing some emotion. The emotion of distress due to separation. Vipralambha. It's a pastime of Vipralambha. Thus he showed by his personal example, the condition of persons attached to women. Now, attached meaning overly attached to the degree that he was going mad. And Lakshmana was trying to calm him down. No, it's going to work out. Let's keep going. Don't become overly distressed. His support system, Lakshmana. Continuing, though internally Rama was controlled by prema, externally he announced the results for persons who freely associate with women by performing actions of indifference. And he carries on. In manifesting pastimes where he, the personality of Godhead, is absorbed in human actions with intense prema for his devotees, in this case Ram for Sita, or in this case it's Krishna for the cowherd boys. He has prema, not just like he likes them, they're friends. Sometimes the Lord shows bewilderment contrary to his omniscience. It's a pastime. It's Leela Shakti. We'll hear as we go forward. He's experiencing a secondary rasa due to prema. So here's the science. This is Jiva Goswami has certainly studied and understood everything of Rupa Goswami's writings. And Rupa Goswami writes about rasa, bhakti rasa, Amrita Sindhu. It's a book about rasa. And so there's primary rasas. Almost all of you probably know 5 primary rasas. We start over here, the Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And then there's secondary rasas, and sometimes there's a mixing of rasas. Sometimes with one devotee there's servitude and friendship. Like Uddhava as an example, he is a friend of Krishna, they're the same age, but he has the mood of service unto Krishna. So there's a mixture of rasas. And along with those primary, there's secondary. Secondary rasas is like waves in a river. Sometimes there's a wave, it goes way up. And then it subsides and becomes level with the rest of the water of the river. So there's times when there's secondary rasas that are so prominent, they seem to supersede and eclipse the primary rasa. But the primary rasa is a primary rasa. It doesn't get lost. It's just something else is so strong for a little while, then it looks like that's it. And then it subsides and something else, and the river keeps flowing. So the secondary rasa, although he is omniscient, he's because of the prominence of rasa, of prema, Lord Ramachandra or Krishna experience emotion, and then there's the other side of the pastime, that is the cowherd boys. they also experience an emotion. The emotion goes like this. They're attached to Krishna. There's the descriptions. Sometimes they're walking in the forest, and in between them and Krishna there's a tree. So for a moment they can't see Krishna. Oh, now I can see Krishna. Because they're that attached. They have to see Krishna every moment. And when they entered the mouth of the Aghasura demon, they couldn't see him. He couldn't see them. So he was feeling, and they were feeling, an emotion. And then he was amazed, Krishna was amazed at how wonderfully his Leela Shakti is working. And what's the Leela Shakti? It derived from Krishna's Yoga Maya potency, by which Krishna's pastimes and his desire for pleasure is facilitated. Leela Shakti is the agent or the instrument is derived from. So it's just Krishna's pleasure flowing. Rasa, bhakti rasa flowing. And that's Krishna's pastimes. And it's at least it's a very important lens to examine Krishna's pastimes and experience them. If your ears are tuned in attentively to who Krishna really is, Krishna, because we discussed this earlier in the session, Rasovai Saha. It's the Taittiriya Upanishad phrase. Krishna is rasa. He's not, he gives it, he is it. And it's like, a gulab jamun is juicy. You just, you touch a gulab jamun, you bump into a gulab jamun, you get juiced. Because it's juicy. You bump into Krishna, you get taste. So that's what we're doing. And the taste is so, wow. And it's not always, it doesn't move in a straight line. That's another thing. Our acharyas describe like the movements of a snake from point A to point B. It doesn't go zoop. That's how a snake moves, and that's how rasa moves. It's very mysterious. It gets to point B, but it didn't go in a straight line. So Krishna is showing bewilderment, and Ramchandra showed bewilderment. But that is a good quality. It's not a fault, since it bestows happiness of priti to the wise, for his bewilderment supports the sweetness of his pastimes. He accepts this bewilderment by his will. It's a nice lesson about Krishna's pastimes and also about Aghasura. There's some pretty fantastic paintings. Look at this one. There's all the cowherd boys going in to play. At the mouth of the demon is this giant Rakshasa. And Krishna knows exactly what's going on. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. We discussed this if you missed the earlier parts. Baka was one of 3 children. I research couldn't find who was mom and dad. But the first demon that Krishna killed, everyone knows, Putana. And later, another demon, Baka, assumed the form of a crane or a duck, and Krishna killed him. And so the younger brother of the 2 elders, he wanted to get back. He was sent by Kamsa, kill Krishna. Yes. And not only because Kamsa sent him, it was revenge. So when the cowherd boys had entered into his mouth, he didn't close his mouth. He didn't swallow them and, start digesting them. Because that's what pythons do. They don't chew. They just close their mouth, and the digestive system of a python is so virile that anything that goes into his mouth gets acidified and digested. They're powerful. And this guy's big. 8 miles. So Krishna had a desire. What was his desire? Commentary says, just as he desired and decided to stop them, the boys along with the calves entered the snake's mouth. Does this mean that Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, through which all his every wish was fulfilled, didn't work? So above Krishna is his potencies. Is that what it means? No. Because Krishna subordinated himself to the cowherd boy's desire. The devotees had the desire. If we go in the serpent's mouth, will he swallow us? If he swallows us, our friend will kill him, as he did Baka. No problem, let's go. Of the two desires, the desire for the devotee prevails. Why? This is Vishwanath Chakravarti. The Lord is controlled by his devotee. This is the arrangement by the ever-watchful Leela Shakti of the Lord, which is to increase the sweetness of the pastimes and destroy all contradictions. Because it's surely a contradiction that we've been addressing. He's omniscient, and he's all-powerful, and something against his wishes and his intelligence happened. That's a contradiction. And there's lots of contradictions. And how do you look at contradictions? Leela Shakti and Rasa. Leela Shakti fulfilling the happiness, the loving exchange between Krishna and everybody. Even when bad guys, they like Shishupal or Putana. It's a contradiction. She came to kill Krishna, and Krishna gave her position in the spiritual world as an assistant of Mother Yasoda, eternally. And that's mercy. But it's also a contradiction. She was bad. Super bad. He gave her position in the spiritual world? That's become Putanas, right? No, that's not the lesson. Come with service. That's why. Krishna saw that the cowherd boys, who did not know anyone but him as their Lord, had now gone out of his hand and were helpless, having entered like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Aghasura, who is death personified. See, there he is again holding up his hand. He didn't say, but the gesture is, don't. And they went anyways. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys. Therefore, as if, seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder. That's a secondary emotion, astonishment. It's a nice emotion. I mean, he didn't stay astonished, but it was like, wow. And there was an emotion connected with that. And then unsure what to do. That's contradictory to his omniscience. He knows what to do, but he was in this moment of astonishment, not knowing what to do. He was experiencing as if one of us, we sometimes don't know what to do. Seeing the boys escape, this is commentary. Seeing the boys escape from his hands, Krishna was astonished at the actions of his Leela Shakti. What was the cause of astonishment? Quote, it is not possible for these cowherd boys to have prarabdha karma. And besides, the Supersoul doesn't give them the tendency for karma. So those are two philosophical terms. With karma, there's stages. And the stage where it's happening right now, that's called prarabdha karma. Like, something falls on your head. Ouch. So that's prarabdha karma, or some car accident, or maybe good fortune. Maybe something good fortune happens. It's karmic connected, and it's now fructifying. So the teaching, the philosophy, says prarabdha karma doesn't touch a pure devotee. Prarabdha karma doesn't even touch a shadow devotee. It's a nice teaching. Here's the nice teaching. When you chant the holy, there's Pshutanam and there's Namabhas. And there's in between. So, even those that are chanting Namabhas, like a Jamila, he wasn't intending to call Narayan. It was Namabhas. He was calling his son. His intention, oh, my son, Narayana. But he said with a lot of feeling, because there's the Yamadutas ready to take him away. Narayana. That's Namabhas. And according to this teaching in that whole section of the Bhagavatam, Namabhas has the power to dismantle completely prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma can't happen. Now we're at the Namabhas stage, we're not at the Shuddha Nam stage. But we should know, material karma can't touch you. Then there's another understanding. Supposing, here in this house there's an air conditioner, I can hear the fan. But supposing that not an air conditioner, you had a ceiling fan or some other fan, and you'd switch it off. And what happens when you switch it off? The blades continue to spin for a while, and then it slows down and stops. But it's not, there's no prarabdha karma happening. It's happening because the electricity is running through the fan. Or same, you turn the air conditioner off, you hear the fan run. And there's some air coming out, and then it just becomes normal again. So, you become a devotee, and the momentum from previous activities and the reactions to previous activities may go on, but it's not prarabdha karma, it's a continuation of something in the past. So that's what Jiva Goswami is saying. For these cowherd boys, no prarabdha karma. And then besides those who are fructifying now, what about even the tendency for doing karma again? Super soul doesn't give a tendency to do karma again. It's squeaky clean. So Krishna knows that. He was astonished. What's going on? So he's contemplating. Because super soul is my expansion, Leela Shakti does not do anything unfavorable to me. Therefore, Leela Shakti has made this seemingly unfavorable arrangement with a desire to put me, full of prema, into the compassionate mood. Karuna rasa, compassionate mood. He wants to save the cowherd boys. He's feeling their pain of separation from him, and he's feeling separation from them. Karuna rasa. So Leela Shakti is stimulating or creating a situation so that he can feel this secondary emotion that goes along with the primary emotion, the friendship rasa. The primary is eclipsed by a secondary. How astonishing is her control over me, the form of all rasas, the king of all leelas, Leela Purushottama. Now it's not over him, it's just happening by his will or his consent. Something very similar to these two features of Paramatma. You know the two features. Upadrashna, Anamanta. Upadrashna, oversee. Anamanta, permit. That's one of the functions of Super Soul. He oversees and he permits. And nothing happens if he doesn't give the go-ahead. It doesn't happen. It has to permit. Now, what was to be done? Problem. How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? Because if he kills the demon, the boys are inside this body, and they're finished. Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, he did something sometimes a good suggestion for us to do. You wait till it becomes clear. So sometimes we don't wait. We just have to do something. It's called mode of passion. But Krishna's not like that. He is waiting for the... He's source of super soul. For us, super soul gives intelligence. Krishna is the source of super soul. He's showing us. He's waiting for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then he did it. So what did he do? He entered the mouth of Aghasura. Krishna saw the perfect way to enjoy pastimes and liberate the demon, to protect the devotees and destroy the rascals. If you remember way back, there was this description of why Krishna appears anyways. And these are two of the three primary reasons. Pritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam, dharma sangsthapanartaya, sambhavam yuge yuge. He saw the unlimited calves and boys. Then he entered the snake because he was overcome with affection, seeing their condition. His Karuna Rasa is continuing. He is called Hari because he would remove their suffering and attract their minds. That's Hari. He takes away. And he gives. He gives himself to attract their minds. There's a nice reference in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Some of you may want to know what that is. Many of you know what it is. It's a book, another commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, this time written by Sanatana Goswami. And in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, there's a discussion between Narada Muni, we all know Narada Muni, and Gopa Kumar. Who's Gopa Kumar? Gopa Kumar is a cowherd boy, Gopa, and he has a name, Kumar. It's Gopa Kumar. And he was living in Vrindavan, and while living in Vrindavan, he saw this very interesting looking and behaving sadhu. So he made kind of a friendship with that sadhu. He did service for the sadhu. The sadhu became compassionate. The sadhu gave him mantra diksha, and told them all desirable things will be fulfilled by this mantra. And sure enough, that's what happened. So here's Narada having a conversation with Gopa Kumar, where Narada says, I worship the pastime he performed in the early mornings when he entered the Vrindavan forest with his calves and friends. Most relishable pastimes, such as entering the mouth of a great serpent after pondering in various ways. Exactly what is a commentary on the Bhagavatam. So there he goes. Krishna's got his hand on his chin, wondering what to do. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghasura, you see those demigods upstairs, up in the clouds? The demigods hidden behind the clouds exclaimed, Alas! Alas! But the friends of Aghasura, like Kamsa and other demons, were jubilant. When Krishna heard the demigods crying, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat just to save himself and the cowherd boys. In other words, pythons have this ability, their body size expands. They swallow something gigantic, and their body size becomes equally gigantic. But Krishna became more gigantic than this gigantic python. And when he expanded himself and expanded himself and expanded himself, even the python got bigger and bigger. The flow of air, the prana in the serpent was suffocated. That was his method. So what happened when he became suffocated? You see in the painting, you see those cowherd boys bouncing or bulging out of the top of his head? Because that's what happened. The soul went from, as you know, humans have a soft place up here. Little babies have a soft place, and mothers know that they have that, so they're very careful because the child could be damaged. So serpents have too, and the soul of Aghasura burst from the top of his head. It looked like some cowherd boys followed suit, and they came out his mouth, and they went out through the top of his head. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nevertheless, his breathing had stopped. He suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there and popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. End of Aghasura. Very clever way to save the cowherd boys. When all the demon's life air had passed away through that hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them all back to life. Then there's commentary that says they weren't dead, they just were unconscious. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out from the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. The calves and boys seemed to be dead. This is Jiva Goswami. This expresses similarity to human pastimes. Actually, they had fainted out of separation from Krishna, being embraced by his Chit Shakti. This is just a commentary that explains how everything works through the agency of Krishna's potencies or his Shaktis. Everything. In Vrindavan, everything happens like that. From the body of the gigantic Parthan, a glaring effulgence came out, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body, similar to Shishupal. The soul went up in the air, hovered for some time, merged into Krishna's body. He gave him liberation. Here's Vishwanath's commentary. The light of the serpent's body was Shuddha Sattva, according to Srila Sridhar Swami, another commentator, that an evil person can get liberation, as illustrated here, is for instilling faith in the people. Krishna is very kind. Don't become a demon, but even if for such people, Krishna is very kind. Though the soul is, this is nice, I like this, Jiva Goswami writes, though the soul is normally invisible, embraced by the Shakti of the Lord, this soul became visible directly as a great light. Like the great light of the Parabrahman, the light of the soul is not visible to material eyes, but it became visible by the Lord's will. Nice. He liberated Aghasura, and the cowherd boys are ready for lunch. That's commonly what happens after Krishna kills a demon. Thereafter, everyone being pleased, the demigods began to shower flowers from Nanda Kanana. What's Nanda Kanana? That's this Indra's celebrated garden. The celestial dancing girls began to dance, and the Gandharvas, who are famous for singing, offered songs of prayer. When Lord Brahma heard the wonderful ceremony going on near his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jaya, Jaya, he immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. because this is the prelude for chapter 13. Chapter 13 is Brahma gets wind of what just happened, and he wants to see what's the limit of Krishna's powers. So he's going to examine his powers against Krishna's powers, and guess who wins? Oh, King Parikshit, when the python-shaped body of Aghasura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavan to visit, and it remained so for a long, long time. Now, Aghasura had a sister, and what they did with Putana's body is they chopped it up. Remember? And when they chopped it up and they set it on fire, it smelled like aguru, like fragrant incense. And his body, Aghasura's body, was 8 miles long. Her body, 12 miles long. 12 miles long? By the power of Krishna's touch, the demon became successful. This is a painting showing Putana, and behind Putana is this witch-like form. As in the case of Putana, even his dead body became fragrant and most attractive. His body, you burn flesh and it stinks, but they burned Putana's body and it was fragrant. And in case the Aghasura demon, they didn't burn, but it was nonetheless it was fragrant. The skin became a suitable plaything, suitable for playing, used as an instrument, etc. It stayed there for a long time. It was also a cave used for playing in all sorts of ways. And we're getting close to finishing the chapter. There was another astonishing event which you should hear about. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment. Though Krishna performed the pastime when he was 5 years old, no, it was 4 years, 4 months. He's saying 5 years, which is fine. The cowherd boys reported the incident when they were 6 years old, as if the incident, being freed from the mouth of the serpent, happened that day. Now this is still chapter 12, and it's just a prelude to chapter 13 and 14. But the prelude is, in chapter 13, after Aghasura was killed and the cowherd boys were freed, time for lunch. That's one of the things they do. So they said, Krishna found a nice place, they had lunch, and Brahma came and did what Brahma did. He kidnapped the cowherd boys and the calves, and put them in a cave. And for him, that took but a moment, or very short period of time. And that moment for Brahma was 1 year on earth. That's another topic. We'll do that another time when I come. That how time is relative, and it's mind bending. Here's a little. Prabhupada explains. On Earth, we experience phases of the moon. There's the waning and the waxing of the moon, and generally that takes 15 days and 15 days. It makes 1 month. And it's a little bit, not exactly 30 days, but approximately. So during that waning of the moon, that's night for the demigods. For us, 15 days, that's their night. And the waxing of the moon, 15 days, that's their day. So for us, 1 month on the heavenly planets is 1 day. For Brahma, 1 moment is 1 year. The time is relative. Einstein was right. Exactly how they're relative and why and all that is another thing, but time is relative. Or the life of a microbe. Their whole, the whole lifetime, their 100 years, is some few days. So time is relative. And that's just the way it is. It's not like storybookish, it's just the way it is. And so 1 year passed, and there's a remark. Vishwanath is commenting, his commentary on verse 37. They, the cowherd boys, go back and tell their parents at the end of 1 year what happened as if it happened that day, but it happened 1 year before. So we'll hear more. When we come, sometime we'll have to discuss chapter 13 and chapter 14. They're fantastic. Krishna is the cause of all causes. The causes and effects of the material world, both higher and lower, are all created by the Supreme Lord, the original controller. When Krishna appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, he did so by his causeless mercy. Consequently, for him to exhibit his unlimited opulence was not at all wonderful. Text 38. Indeed, he, Krishna, showed such mercy that even Aghasura, who was most sinful, miscreant, was elevated to being one of his associates and achieving Sarupya Mukti, which is actually impossible for materially contaminated persons to attain. Now, the description that he merged with the body of Krishna was Sayuja, but that was the explanation given, commentary given is, it was a temporary situation to merge with the body of the Supreme Lord. Ended up in the spiritual realm that he developed, he manifested a body like the Supreme Lord. But then there's a further explanation. The body wasn't in Goloka. The body was in Vaikuntha because he didn't have any service mood at all. It was all kill Krishna, kill the cowherd boys. It was bad mood. So Krishna, he relieved him of his sinful tendencies, sinful reactions, sinful tendencies, and gave him Sarupya Mukti. Sarupya means a form like his, but the form like his was in Vaikuntha, not Vrindavan. He attained a similar body to Krishna, which was very rare for the demon. Sayuja itself is rare for demons, and Sarupya is even rarer, as this is reserved for the devotees. The Atma was not a demon. The demoniac nature is a covering, or apadi. That covering was destroyed. It is not a fault of the Lord to show mercy to his faultless part. That's the soul. The part of Krishna is Mam Evangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. All living entities that are eternally my angsas, my fragmental parts. So it's not a fault that Krishna shows mercy upon his part. Rather, it is praiseworthy, since the Lord showed the highest mercy in destroying the demoniac nature of Anga. Similar comparison is made in the commentary to Nityananda wanting to save and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu following the request of Nityananda to deliver Jagai Madhai, sinful persons, this and that and the other sinful activities. That's the nature of compassion. Krishna took pleasure in entering the mouth of Aghasura in a sporting spirit along with his associates. This is the BBT purport for this verse. Therefore, when Aghasura, by that sporting association as maintained in the spiritual world, was purified of all contamination, he attained Sarupya Mukti by the grace of Krishna. If even once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. Again, this is commentary. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed? This is a verse that concludes the chapter. Commentary by Vishwanath. From the statement that Aghasura's body became the playground for the boys for many days, it should be understood that the demon's unfavorable attitude had been transformed into a favorable attitude, and he had attained Sarupya in Vaikuntha, but he did not attain a form in Vrindavan because of his lack of that particular type of bhakti. So there's the Aghasura demon, and people are playing in the Aghasura demon's playground. Down below it looks like there's a river, and they're having a nice time. So all of this is being narrated by Sutta, because he's narrating what Shukadeva Goswami said. Oh, learned saints, the childhood pastimes of Sri Krishna are very wonderful. Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing about those pastimes of Krishna who had saved him in the womb of his mother, became steady in his mind and again inquired from Shukadeva to hear about those pious activities. And that's the end of the chapter. Commentary. Suddenly, Sutta speaks. Out of great bliss, he praises Shukadeva and Parikshit. Parikshit's heart was afflicted by the appearance of prema in separation from the Lord. Parikshit also asks to hear more because the topics are most auspicious. Parikshit inquired a great sage, how could things done in the past have been described as being done at the present? It's like 1 year had passed. Sutta Goswami said, when Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami in this way, Shukadeva immediately, remembering subject matters about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost control, lost contact with the actions of his senses. He went into samadhi. Thereafter, with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception and began to speak to Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna Katha. And that's the end of the chapter. Now, last night somebody wanted to learn the whole pastime. So I made somebody gathered up a seminar I gave on these 4 parts in Naperville, and they're now in this lady's hand. So, some of you attended some of the sessions, some of you didn't attend all the sessions. And if you want, then that same set of descriptions, because the same slides and the same everything, it's all recorded. Now, this is a very celebrated pastime. There's 16 slides that just show this artwork in different museums around the world. This is in San Diego. I don't know where this one is from. This one you saw already. This is in Jaipur. Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. Rajasthan. Walters Art Museum. I don't know where that is. No, it's a popular pastime. You get the idea. And, different artists have different way of depicting things. Brooklyn Museum painting, etc., etc. Here's some carvings in West Bengal. more very, very old paintings. That's it. The end. Well, thank you all for coming to hear Krishna's pastimes. It's nice, even if no one had come, it's nice narrating the pastimes. It's nice narrating the pastimes when there's an audience like all of you just paying rapt attention, of all ages, including this young fellow. And he likes the activity of giving the microphone to people who want to ask questions. So just raise your hand and he'll come running over. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this series of presentations about Aghasur. As you said that he is the brother of Putana and Bakasur.
Mm.
So you said Putana went back to Goloka and Aghasur was to Vaikuntha. What happened to Bakasura?
There's the description. He got liberated. All the demons, everyone in connection with Krishna that even saw Krishna, like the soldiers on the Kurukshetra battlefield, both sides achieved liberation. But it doesn't say what kind for Baka. So I don't know. But he got liberation.
So in case of Aghasur, he didn't have that service attitude.
He didn't have no service attitude.
But still he went to Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
Was there any repentance or anything that when Krishna went inside? Is there any feeling described by acharyas that he felt anything?
There's no description. He didn't say, we don't, your question is, did he think, oh gee, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this? No regret or repentance. He just got cleansed. The reaction and the tendency, both.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have an observation and a question, Guru Maharaj. The observation is, in part 1, there was a Falastuti Guru Maharaj shared that if one hears or reads this pastime, all their spiritual desires will be fulfilled.
Spiritual desires, right.
So I was wondering, because many pastimes we hear a lot of material desires will be fulfilled, like health, fame, wealth.
Well, wait a minute. By hearing pastimes, material desires get fulfilled.
Most of the, like Varaha, pastime of Varahadev, pastime of Gajendra, those things at the end of the chapter, usually it says that when you hear this pastime, your health or wealth, something like that in the material benefits. I have read that. So this one specifically said spiritual desire.
This is Vrindavan. That's the distinction.
I was wondering about that. And then today, when you mentioned there was 2 desires, Krishna's desire and devotee's desire, but then the devotees, the friends' desire prevail, and Krishna's desire becomes subordinate to their desire. So I was kind of connecting that the spiritual desire get fulfilled when we hear this pastime. Just observation, Guru Maharaj.
Nice try. What's your question?
Question is, I couldn't catch the relationship between Leela Shakti and Yoga Maya you mentioned.
Okay. It's simple. It's really simple. So simple, it's like, I'll say it twice. What is Yoga Maya? Yoga Maya facilitates Krishna's pleasure. And Leela Shakti is a derivative of, or derived from, so it's the instrument of Yoga Maya. In one sense, they're synonymous. And then there's 2 terms because there's some particular and one is the instrument of and derived from the power, the Shakti derived from Yogamaya to facilitate. Okay.
Yeah. I will give chance to other devotees, Maharaj. I have two other
Two others.
questions. I'll
Okay,
wait.
we'll come back.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice rendition, Maharaj. I was just wondering how earlier in the rendition you mentioned that the tendency is alleviated or facsimile from the devotee to whatever sin. So I was wondering, is it possible though? Because like in ISKCON, we see a lot of some devotees
This
may
is
fall
speaking.
down.
This is the cowherd boys. The cowherd boys don't. Super soul doesn't give the cowherd boys tendency. No, they're pure, and some others are not yet pure. So they're not yet pure folks. Sometimes tendency comes out, and it's unfortunate when it does, but it sometimes does. And that's the distinction between, the associates of Krishna in the spiritual world and those of us that are doing sadhana. Okay. Anything else? Yes, up front.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for nice sessions.
A little further away. Okay.
Thank you for nice sessions, Maharaj. I'm really inspired to read Bhagavatam with commentaries from Acharyas. It's so nectarian and relishable. So I have a question, Maharaj. So does the pastimes of Krishna will continue in Goloka Vrindavan?
Oh, yeah.
Continue, okay.
Well, they also go, and they also are eternally going on in an uppercut manner in the extension from the spiritual world in this realm. Uppercut, the unmanifest features. Supposing, for example, supposing Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami go to Vrindavan and they're immersed in Krishna Katha and Krishna Smarana, those pastimes may appear before them or in their heart. There's two ways. And before their, not material eyes, but their spiritual eyes, and within their heart. Their pastimes are eternally going on. But if they're not seeing or experiencing them, they're still going on. Nitya Lila means Nitya Lila. And there's a period of time where they're manifest and then not manifest. And the manifest is so that everyone can see. Everyone can see. They may not see with a transcendental eye. They may see he's ordinary. The washerman.
Mm-hmm.
When Krishna asked for clothes, he scolded him. He wasn't seeing, although he's the same Krishna, and so forth.
So how about the demons, Maharaj, in the Goloka Vrindavan? In Goloka Vrindavan,
What's the question?
will there be demons as well, like how we have in this Krishna Lila?
The speaker and your voice don't work well. Yeah, that's right. Hold it a little bit further from your mouth. Try it again.
Question about demons in Goloka Vrindavan.
Oh, no.
Who will be taking that role?
That Krishna comes so he can have that exchange. It's absent in Goloka.
Some devotees will be playing that
This
role.
is like Jai and Vijay, the gatekeepers. They volunteered. They prayed. They didn't send a message to Krishna. They've just prayed. If you so desire, we know you have this chivalrous spirit, and there's no combat here in Vaikuntha. So if you so desire, we can go. So Krishna facilitated, because he wanted. But there's no demons in Goloka or Vaikuntha. No demons. And if you want demons, you can just stay around here. There's lots of demons. Okay.
Thank you much.
Oh,
Maharaj, in previous lectures, you've mentioned how some of the demons represent certain anarthas or negative qualities. What is agasara?
enviousness. I purposely deleted that little section. But it's something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur liked. It got too long, so I left it out. But enviousness. He couldn't stand that they were having so much fun. He couldn't stand it, and he wanted revenge. So it's just on the material platform of material desires interceding with spiritual happiness. That's what he represents.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the previous lecture you mentioned this. I'm just trying to understand and make sure my understanding is correct. Today you mentioned cowherd boys are eternal associates.
Yes.
But in the verse number 11, we hear that cowherd boys, in order to become the cowherd boys, they performed...
No, you're reading into it. It doesn't say that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure that my understanding...
I'm correcting your misunderstanding. I don't know if I did this here, but this is chapter 13. Chapter 13 speaks of the cowherd boys. When Brahma had the idea to this is chapter 13, not chapter 12. But when he had this diabolical idea to test Krishna, see what he would do when he kidnapped the cowherd boys. Krishna knew. So listen, this is the Yogamaya Leela Shakti question. Yogamaya understood his intention. So Yogamaya arranged to withdraw the cowherd boys from vision. Yogamaya... There are 3 sets of cowherd boys. Yogamaya hid them for 1 year. And a false set of cowherd boys, or Maya cowherd boys, because Yogamaya and Mahamaya is the reflection of Yogamaya. So a facsimile of, or makeshift copy, exact copy of the cowherd boys was what Brahma stole. And then the third is Krishna manifested forms just like the cowherd boys, but they were Krishna. I'll go back to your question. The cowherd boys are eternal associates. The commentary says, no way could Brahma put Krishna's eternal associates to sleep, because that's what he did with the Maya cowherd boys. By his mystic power, he covered them, so they were as if in mystic slumber. He didn't have as a material power, it can't cover the cowherd boys. Yogamaya, no problem. Brahma, problem. So, does that answer your question? Kind of? You're going back to chapter 12. Oh, but what kind of, that's answered this way. They didn't engage in material piety. There's different kinds of piety. Opening hospitals, feeding the poor, helping little old ladies cross the street, and do nice, pious things. That's not what was their eligibility. Intimate service, lifetime after lifetime. Your question is, are they eternal associates, or if they're not? If they had, but the eternal associates have the eternal opportunity to serve Krishna in intimate ways. And who can say how many? They're not. There's too many. Eternal. Krita punya punja. So one. This comes into a understanding Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti teaches there are eternal associates of Krishna, like Mother Yasoda, for example. One can't become Mother Yasoda by many, many lifetimes of doing nice service. Mother Yasoda is eternally Mother Yasoda, and that's it. One may become an assistant too, but you can't become Mother Yasoda. You can become an assistant to the gopis as mandris and other names of categories. But Krishna has as eternal, and those eternal are expansions of Radharani. They're eternal. And the cowherd boys, similarly, they're eternal. So you don't become, you can assist and be with and be like the cowherd boys. But those cowherd boys are eternal. Read the commentary, and it's very, very clear. Your question will evaporate. There's a problem in thinking of that which is eternal as if it's material, as if it's within the time as we know it. Once upon a time, they were just like nice devotees, and they did lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, and then they became cowherd boys. You don't become an eternal associate. You are. You serve those that are eternal associates in certain rasas. That's how it works. And who can say, there's the verse, Krita Punya Punja, who can say how many lifetimes of these activities they've been engaging in, and eternally have been, eternally will be. There's no past, present, future. And then it conforms with chapter 13. Because 1 year later, the statement is, those original cowherd boys that are Krishna's eternal cowherd boys, they were returned by Yogamaya, and their sense of passage of time was 1 moment, the 1 moment of Brahma time. And and there was Krishna, was still with that same, in his left hand was that lump of yogurt and rice, as if it was 1 moment before. No sense of passage of time, although 1 year had passed. So then, and that's the eternal ones. The ones that Krishna manifests, they were withdrawn within the source that they came from, Krishna. The Maya cowherd boys doesn't say, but they're just reflections. They didn't. That was it for them. They were just reflections. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I'm sorry if it is not very appropriate question, but it bothers me.
Is it on topic?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
So because I'm trying to understand karma and the intention of a soul to serve Krishna, for going back to Krishna, then I'm wondering how the demons who go back can stay around, because that attraction to Krishna isn't there, even though maybe their karma is permitting them to go back. So can you please...
Your question is, I'm trying to understand your question. I'm going to try to say back what I understand your question. We're practicing sadhana bhakti. These personalities that were liberated by Krishna, no sadhana bhakti. And you're asking yet another question. So like one is, what was their eligibility for going back to Godhead or to a spiritually pure situation when they didn't do any sadhana? Then another question is, how does the law of karma fit into all of that picture? Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yeah?
And also like the final thing is like, if we have an answer for all this, then, but how do they continue?
Who's they?
The demons.
How do they continue doing what?
Staying in association of the Lord.
Oh, they become purified. It was explained. I'll repeat what was explained. The covering is not the soul. The demons are soul. There's a covering. The covering was demolished. The covering was demolished. And once it was demolished, what's left? The soul. Now Krishna can and one can say did invest the soul in its original consciousness, because the covered consciousness is removed and Krishna bestowed the original consciousness, and so they resumed their original consciousness. That's a power. One of the earlier classes that we had said the other forms of Vishnu, Tattva, when they deal with a demon, they don't return to the spiritual world. But there's something special about when Krishna does, they do. They achieve liberation. Remember that discussion? Mm-hmm. Were you there for that? Did you get the document that explains it? So, it's just one of the powers that Krishna has that the other Vishnu forms don't have. And that, so how does it happen? Karma is the two types of karma, prarabdha and tendency taken. And then what's left? Krishna enthuses the soul with the positive mood of spirit in one of the primary rasas, or at least one of the four primary rasas. Because neutrality is the sayuja, which may happen also. But that kind of mukti is cessation of material existence. But it's not reviving the original form. Svaropena vyavastiti. Muktir hitvanyata rupam svaropena vyavastiti. That's the kind of liberation that Krishna gives. So back to your question. Their karma is gone. They didn't do devotional service, but their covering feature, the demon feature, is gone. The reaction for their past misdeeds and the tendency to do more, gone. So the soul that is left. And the soul is then in contact with Krishna and enlivened and enthused and infused with spiritual potency by the source of all potency. And Krishna can do that. Krishna does do that.
Every soul has their unique ways to serve Krishna, right?
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
Then it seems like...
you're limited.
Where is the...
Krishna is unlimited. Don't limit Krishna.
There should be something that is with the soul, even after the covering is not there. That is unique to them, that helps them be them.
I've answered your question. I'll answer your question again in a different way, but I'm not going to do it a third time. question for you. How many qualities does Krishna have?
64.
Yeah, he has 64 principal, and his number of qualities unlimited, because he's unlimited. Unlimited. And Sridhar Swami says, as the number of souls is unlimited, the qualities of Krishna are unlimited. Because different souls are attracted by different qualities. Because we're all different, which is what you're saying. So where's that differential that's of each soul? Krishna knows, and there's a quality that Krishna exhibits, because he's the source of all qualities. He's the source of everything, and they become attracted to the all-attractive. There's the answer to your question. Give the microphone to behind you.
Just sharing, Guru Maharaj. Krishna's pastime, this pastime is filled with sweetness, and the commentary by our acharyas made it more juicy and more relishable.
That's what they do.
And then hearing from you with all the illustration added more sweetness to the pastime. Thank you. And the last one, Guru Maharaj, I don't remember the exact verse number. I vaguely remember that when I read this pastime, one of the acharyas or Srila Prabhupada mentioned that since Agasura gave some pleasure to the cowherd boys by being a plaything for them briefly, that also one of the reason attracted the mercy of Krishna and one of the reason for liberation. But I don't know the exact verse number.
Yeah, I don't remember reading it at all. But to speak of the exact verse.
I can find it.
I have zero memory of what you just said.
Yeah.
And I've read this like 20 times, so maybe you heard something that wasn't there.
No, I was preparing this slide for a PowerPoint.
You find it later and show it to me, because
sure.
I don't think it's there.
If I find it, I'll share.
Okay, if you find it. I don't think you're going to find it.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Yes, all the way in the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the enlightening series of Agasur. My question is really short. I just wondering, Maharaj, that when Agasur got the Sarupya liberation, and as you said, the Sarupya, he go to Vaikuntha.
Yes.
What kind of mood he developed? Like, what's normally a mood?
There's no information what the mood is. That he went to Vaikuntha, what do I know? But our acharyas are saying, so I repeated what our acharyas said. The acharyas didn't say what was the mood, so I don't have the answer to that question. Some mood.
Sure.
And largely the mood is dasya.
That's okay. Sure. That's what my second part of the question is, that because Das says more looking prevalent in Vaikuntha than any other.
Yeah, but it's dasya with majesty, because there's other kinds of dasya. There's dasya with intimacy.
That's true. Thank you.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Swami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to share 3 points. The first point is that last night some miracle happened. After hearing Maharaj class, 4 devotees